Well, good morning and welcome to Site Builder Saturday. We are streaming live. Today's topic is the steps you need to plan your website. So it's really important to plan.
Well, good morning and welcome.
Oops, let's just make that mute. Okay, so we don't need stereo in the background. So welcome again. I'm so happy you joined, and we'll step through the steps that you need to plan your website. These are very important steps to take. If you're doing the website yourself, it's great. It's really important, actually. It's not just great. It's important to do this so that when you sit down to build your website, you know exactly what you need to do, and you can just focus, pardon me, on the tool. So it's also a good thing to do if you're having a website built, because you really should understand how you're going to approach your customers. Without further ado, I will get into the steps. So the first thing that I suggest that you do, I strongly suggest that you do, is to go out and research other websites. Take a look at what businesses like yours are doing. What are they putting up on their website? Are they putting a lot of images? Are they putting calls to action? This is important because you can see what they're doing really good and what they're not doing so well, and what you can improve when you do your own website. You want to look at everything that is on a particular page and note down what it is that you actually like or dislike, so that you don't end up creating something that you don't like on your website. So the next thing that you want to do is to identify your customer. This is a very, very important step because your website is geared to attracting customers and selling your business. That's really the most important thing that you can do, is to portray yourself in the most positive light. You want to keep people on your website, and in order to keep people on your website, you need to speak to them in a language that is very much like they speak. The only way you can learn about the language that they speak, or the way that they speak, I should say, is by understanding who they are, what they do, what they like, what their hopes and dreams are. So that takes a little upfront work to do that. The next step that you want to take is to plan your website goals. So planning your goals means that, what is it that I want to have the customers do when they land on my page? Do I want them to call me, pick up the phone and say hello? Do I want them to buy something? If it's a site that is going to be selling, it's a critical point to understand the call to action is buy now. If you want to have them find more information, these are some keys that you want to understand the goals. Okay? And the next step is you want to plan your website pages out. So this is really important. Planning your website pages out means that you will have sort of like a roadmap to planning and presenting everything when you sit down to do the website. This is really important because you don't want to be frustrated. If you're sitting down with a website tool that you're not familiar with, the last thing you want to do is to be going out and making your decision about, what images do I need? What am I going to say? What will this look like? How should I position it? So when you're creating your website planning effort, you want to understand what your page is going to look like. Will you have an image at the top? Will you have text in the middle? Will your call to action button be here or there? You want to ensure that you know where everything is going to go and have that all laid out. It's very important that you do this because you'll be flailing if not. Think of baking a cake. If you were to go to the cabinet every time you needed something, instead of having all the ingredients laid out on the counter, that would be a frustrating experience. Similarly, not preparing ahead and knowing what you need to say, do, and put on your website will also be a frustrating experience if you leave it to that moment. So the next step that we'll talk about is to plan your website colors. Color is a really important feature of a website. It can create a mood or a tone, and you can go and search and find out about what different colors mean and all that kind of information. But color for a website, people typically use their logo, and that's fine. You want to keep in mind the tips when you're using color on your website is to not use more than 3 colors, because you don't want a mishmash of distraction on your website. Black text is usually pretty good. A white background. The 3 colors that I described do not include the black text and do not include the white background. So the 3 colors are on top of that. And then also you'll find on many websites they use a gray sort of highlighting panel, if you will, to put behind text. That gray is not part of your 3 colors. So you have free reign besides black, gray, and white to pick 3 colors for your website template. And the next step is to acquire collateral or create collateral. So collateral refers to images, text, video if you're going to have it on your website, podcasts, anything that you need to actually create in advance. In fact, if you had a download brochure, you'd want to have that prepared and created in advance of having your website built or building your website. It's important to do this again because I talked about it a little earlier. The last thing you want to do is be in the middle of building your website with your hands to the keyboard, all engrossed in putting everything there, and then having to go and do a web search to find an image. If it's not thought out, it's not coordinated, and it doesn't help you to connect what your customer wants to do on your website with your goals. So if you're ahead of time and you're getting all these things together, you have the opportunity to look at the image, look at the text, think about your customer, what are their goals, or what are your goals, think about what they want, and make sure that you can create the text that supports those, and you have the image that helps the customer make the decision to think more about your products and services, or helps them to actually make that step and buy or pick up the phone and call you. So it's a coordinated effort. It's not just a mishmash of text and images because you want to put something in place to get your website going. It's really an orchestrated event. So finally, you're at the position now where you can, on the final step, you're ready to buy website tools. And by website tools, I mean things that you need to actually get your website live. That would be your domain name, a website builder tool, or a WordPress hosting situation, or hiring a website developer. The domain name purchase is pretty easy. You can search for that and buy it very, very easily. The next step would be to decide how you're going to build it or what tool you're going to use. So there are a number of website builder tools that are very easy to use. We do sell one and it's great. I demoed it last week and you can get something running in an hour. But the key thing that you should understand is that if you're making a decision between something like an easier website builder tool or a more complicated WordPress tool, you want to understand how much time do you want to spend to actually learn the tool. Because if you're doing a website builder tool, many of them come with pre-built templates. They allow you to pick a template and present you with pretty much a pre-built website. It's in the colors and the images that are standard or just come with it, so to speak. You can change those out and put your own in, and that makes it much easier to build. When you go to a WordPress situation, not only are you confronted with needing to learn the tool, you have to pick from a number of different templates. They're more difficult to configure. It's not impossible to configure, but if you're doing it yourself and you want to dive into the details and you really want to learn how to do WordPress WordPress is a little more flexible tool for you to be able to work with because you can put anything in place. Anything you can imagine that you want to do on your website, WordPress can do it for you. So for tools that you want to buy, you want to weigh your decision as to how much time you want to invest in learning a tool, how much time do you have, and so forth. There's also the decision to hire a website developer, and you can do that as well. These plans or these steps will help you in either case. It won't matter. Whatever path that you take to create your website, whether you build it yourself or you hire out, taking these important steps will set you up for success. So I want to open it up to any questions from people out there who might be listening. And so let's see if we have anything coming in. I'm going to just take a look now and see. And it's hard for people to ask questions. I'll get it going. Frequently people want to know, why on earth would I sit there and do all this stuff before I'm actually going to build my website? When I'm going to build my website, I'm just going to do it. Okay. So again, I say to that question, or I answer that question, if you want to be frustrated and you want to not accomplish things in a very orderly fashion, or not even that, it's more about you want to connect with your customer. The only way that you can get your messaging right is if you pre-plan it, coordinate it, and make all of the things that are going on to your website work together and talk to each other, or not talk to each other, but support each other and actually speak to your customer. Images, text, calls to action, all of it. You want to be sure that it is really doing what you need it to do. What you need to do is to convince your customers that you're the choice for them for whatever it is that you're selling. So it takes planning, and haphazardly sitting there and searching the web while you're trying to build and learn the tool is just not a recipe for success. That's really why I use these tools when I create websites for everybody. I do these 7 steps. It just sets you up for a much better, not only a better building experience, but a better customer experience for your individual people who will be visiting your website. That's what I say on that particular count. So let's see if we have any other questions out there. If anybody is interested in posing a question, all you have to do is IM me. And, oops, I'm going to double video here because I'm clicking on it on my phone. So, yeah. That's what I say on that. Hi, Brittany. My daughter is watching. And so I don't see any questions coming through. So without further ado, I am going to end this video. And thanks so much for watching this session of Site Builder Saturday. We'll be back next week. And I look forward to speaking with you all. Again, thanks again. Happy website building.